86. Warriors starting to edge away from the Blazers.
It's time for Warriors Wrap-Up. We'll bring you into the locker room and hear from Coach Kerr and the players. Highlights from the game. Warriors Wrap-Up starts now.
Yes, it does. Welcome in another Warriors win. This one, it wasn't pretty, but hey, it ain't got to be pretty as long as you get the dub, and the Warriors did that. The final score in Portland tonight, 100-92. The Warriors have now won 9 of their last 10 games, and they keep hope alive for the 8th seed in the Western Conference. They will be no worse than 10. We knew that. 9 is still certainly possible, but 8 is becoming more and more possible with each passing day. Welcome into Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Mark Grandy with you. The highlight you just heard coming in, Kevin Dana calling the Looney steal that led to a Brandon Pajemski and one of the biggest plays of the game. The Warriors were trailing in the fourth quarter, 85-79 with 9 minutes left. Over the next 6 minutes of play, from the 9-minute mark when the Warriors were down 6 to the 3-minute mark of the fourth, the Warriors went up 9, a 16-1 run. A 16-1 run for the Warriors over 6 minutes of basketball. They hold the Blazers to 0 made field goals over 6 minutes of basketball. It was the defense that led the Warriors to the win tonight, led by Kevon Looney. How about that? Kevon Looney, a great showing off the bench tonight. His defense, his pick and roll game with Steph Curry, his offensive rebounding and putbacks was the reason the Warriors went on that 16-1 run. Also, there were some others. Steph made a couple of threes after struggling with his shot for most of the game. Pajemski made a big shot. Chris Paul made some jumpers down the stretch. But Kevon Looney was awesome. They do not win this game without Kevon Looney, and it's hard to just not have a giant smile on your face when you think about Kevon Looney and his performance tonight. He was the only Warrior that did not play on Tuesday in L.A. Every other Warrior played, except for Kevon Looney on Tuesday. But Looney, Mr. Stay Ready himself, he was ready tonight. He came in when Trace Jackson Davis, honestly, was struggling a little bit. And Looney came in and said, "Don't worry, Rook, I'll take it from here." And he willed the Warriors to a victory. The Warriors' final score, 100-92 over the Blazers. And they pick up a hugely important win when it comes to the Western Conference standings. We'll break it all down here on 95.7 The Game. It's Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Mark Grandy with you. I do understand we're having some technical difficulties with our phones right now. So if you are trying to call in, I apologize. We are having some issues there. But if you want to join the show, we've got other ways for you to do it. Shoot me a text, 888-957-9570. That's the Xfinity mobile text line. Again, 888-957-9570. I've also got our YouTube chat up, as always, youtube.com/957 The Game. Everything we do on YouTube is powered by First NorCal Credit Union. The chat is flowing on YouTube, so join the party, youtube.com/957 The Game. We'll keep you updated if we are able to get our phone system sorted out, but right now we are having some technical difficulties there. But again, 888-957-9570, the Xfinity mobile text line, and our YouTube chat, youtube.com/957 The Game. You can join the conversation that way for the time being here on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. And while I am in the middle of a reset here, I wanted to remind you that you are listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Exhale. The Warriors got the job done. It was not pretty. It was, in fact, for the most part, ugly. The 16-1 run over that 6-minute span from the 9-minute mark of the fourth to the 3-minute mark of the fourth, that was by far the prettiest 6 minutes of basketball the Warriors played all night. But for the most part, the night was marred by sloppiness, laziness, bad turnovers, Not necessarily poor shooting. The Warriors were hovering around 50% from the field for the vast majority of this game. They ended up shooting a tick under 47% from the field, but they turned the ball over a lot. 16 turnovers led to 19 Portland points. Portland was dominating the offensive glass, specifically in the first half. They had 20 offensive rebounds, Portland did. It led to 28 second chance points and an extra 21 field goal attempts. And the reason why the Blazers were in this game, despite shooting 36% to the Warriors' 47%, the reason was the Warriors' turnovers, the Portland offensive rebounds just gave the Blazers more field goal attempts. They took 20 more field goal attempts than the Warriors did tonight. That's really difficult to do. The Blazers shot 97 times tonight. The Warriors shot 77 times tonight. And the Warriors won a basketball game doing it that way because you outshot them by nearly 11%. You gave up 20 more field goal attempts, but you shot 11% better, and you sneak out of Portland with the win 100-92. And it is worth mentioning, of course, that the Warriors were playing without two of their most important players, both Klay Thompson and Draymond Green out with what the Warriors were officially calling injuries. Klay Thompson with right knee tendonitis, Draymond Green with a right knee contusion. Also, Gary Payton II did not play with left calf tightness. But don't worry, it's nothing serious for any of those three. I would expect every single one of them to play tomorrow when the Warriors return home to take on New Orleans. But you're without those three guys, specifically Klay and Draymond. And you got to win. Now, it was certainly expected that you were going to get this win because the Blazers were without like their entire roster other than DeAndre Ayton and Scoot Henderson. Beyond that, you've got guys that I'm sure most of us haven't really heard of before. I mean, there were a number of Trailblazers there. The only reason you heard those guys is either you're a Blazers fan, and if you are, I'm happy that the season is coming close to being over for you. This has been a tough season for the Blazers. The only other reason those Blazers players is if you're just the biggest basketball fan on the planet. They fought valiantly. DeAndre Ayton was awesome in this game. Scoot Henderson was good, specifically in the first half. Ayton had 25 points, 10 or 11 total rebounds. Duop Reith hurt the Warriors in the first half. There's one of the Blazers who maybe you have heard of. He's actually been effective against the Warriors earlier this season as well. But the Warriors got the win, and that's really all that matters at this stage. The Warriors were kind of teetering on the edge of the worst of both worlds. You kind of went 1 foot in and 1 foot out by resting a couple of players, but not everybody, because the Warriors still clearly don't want to run anybody into the ground. But they also still want to get this win. So you rest Dre and Klay, but you're pushing Steph. You're pushing Wiggins. You're pushing Kuminga. Not that they can't handle it. But the Warriors still clearly wanted to win this game, but it would have been, a major loss if you were pushing Steph. And how many minutes did Steph end up playing tonight? 36 minutes. Imagine you push Steph and you play him 36 minutes, and you could already tell throughout the game, there was a little bit of fatigue. The Warriors looked a little bit lazy, sleepwalking a little bit, and you can understand it. This was game 79. No, this was game 80. Game 80 of 82. You've got 2 more games left of a long season, and Steph Curry's played just about every single game, missed a handful here and there, but he's played just about every game. You can understand why he might be a little bit tired at times, fatigued. He played 36 minutes tonight. Imagine if the Warriors lost this game. You know how disastrous that would have been? You would have pushed your aging star, not aging, I mean, he's aged. He's up there. You would have pushed your most important player who hasn't been at his best shooting the ball lately, and maybe you can say it's because of fatigue and all the minutes that he's playing. You pushed him, and he still found a way to lose. I guess the only good thing would be, well, then you might just be able to wave the white flag on the rest of the regular season and gear up for the 9-10 game against the Lakers in L.A., but the Warriors still earned the win. So they avoided the disastrous scenario. You pushed Steph, but you got the win, and now you still have a chance to fight for the 8. And the 8 is becoming all that much more realistic, because what else happened in the association today? The Pelicans in Sacramento knocked off the Kings. Final score 135-123. We talked about it on Warriors Live if you were with us. The result of that game didn't really matter a ton. I thought the better result was the Pelicans winning, and that is what happens. But essentially, whichever team lost today between the Pelicans and the Kings, assuming the Warriors won tonight as they did, Pelicans or Kings, loser of that game tonight in Sacramento, essentially the Warriors now just have to root for that loser tonight to keep losing. And as a result, the Kings lost. Now the Warriors have to root for the Kings to lose at least one more time in their final two games. If the Warriors win out, they beat the Pelicans at home tomorrow, which is not a given. It's going to be a really tough game. The Pelicans still have a ton to play for as well. They want to avoid the play-in tournament at all costs. If the Warriors beat the Pelicans tomorrow, then beat the Jazz on Sunday, the Jazz is not a sure thing, but it's much more of a sure thing than the Pelicans tomorrow. If the Warriors go 2-0 now to close the regular season, and the Kings go 1-1 or worse, 1-1 or 0-2, the Warriors will finish ahead of the Sacramento Kings and would be the 8th seed in the Western Conference. And the Kings, coming up, they've got Phoenix tomorrow and Portland on Sunday. The Warriors need at least one of those to be a loss, and the most likely scenario is Phoenix tomorrow. So if you're a Warrior fan and you desperately want the Warriors to be the 8th seed, which, by the way, you should want that because the 8th seed is infinitely better than the 9 or the 10. If you are the 8, you have the opportunity to win just one of two play-in games to get to the postseason, and you also have the opportunity to be the 7 seed by winning that 7-8 play-in game, that first play-in game. And if you win that first play-in game, you would be the 7, and you would avoid what looks to be the Denver Nuggets, who, after beating Minnesota last night, are just about, not quite, but they're just about locking up the 1 seed in the Western Conference, which means if you are the 8 and you win the 7-8 play-in game, you would finish as the 7 seed officially, and you would take on either Minnesota or Oklahoma City. Most likely Minnesota because they have the tiebreaker over OKC right now, and those two teams have identical records with 2 games remaining. I know that's a lot of ifs, and I'm working with a lot of things here, a lot of hypotheticals here. All this means is that the 8 is so much better than the 9 or the 10. So the Warriors still have a ton to play for, and they earned that right. They earned having more worth fighting for by winning tonight in Portland. You get the Pelicans beating the Kings, which now means the Warriors, you go 2-0, the Kings go 1-1 or 0-2, and you are the 8th seed in the Western Conference, and you would have 2 bites at the play-in apple. 888-957-9570. I know that our phones are having difficulties right now, but you can shoot me a text. It's the Xfinity mobile text line, 888-957-9570. Also on YouTube, youtube.com/957 the game. Our chat powered by the First NorCal Credit Union. Randy on YouTube says the Warriors can hang with OKC and Minnesota. Randy, I would agree with you to an extent. It's certainly a better opportunity than Dallas. Better proposition, than Denver, not Dallas. Denver, I think far and away the best team in the Western Conference. They're the most scary, and I think they're also the worst matchup for the Warriors, at least among the group of top 3, top 4, top 5 teams in the Western Conference. Denver is very, very scary, and the Warriors, I think, would feel very fortunate and very lucky to avoid Denver if the Warriors were to get to a first-round postseason series. Again, a lot of ifs, but Randy, I do agree with you there. Avoid Denver, play either Minnesota or OKC, and you take your swing and you see what happens at that point. Still a long way to get there, but there is a relatively realistic path. Let's just run through here on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game, and it's Mark Randy with you. Let's run through the possible outcomes for the Warriors. Okay, so as it stands right now, Sacramento, Golden State, and the Lakers, they're all 45 and 35. 45 and 35. Important to note, Sacramento holds the tiebreaker over both the Warriors and the Lakers. The Warriors hold the tiebreaker over the Lakers, and in the event of a 3-way tie, the Kings win that 3-way tie, and the Warriors would finish second. And that's how the standings currently show right now. If you look it up on ESPN or NBA.com, they're all 45 and 35. Kings are officially listed as 8, the Warriors as 9, the Lakers as 10. That is representative of how a three-way tiebreaker would turn out. Also how an individual tiebreaker would turn out. Again, the Kings have the tiebreaker over both the Warriors and the Lakers. The Warriors have the tiebreaker over the Lakers. The Lakers, they don't have either of the tiebreakers. That's why they're currently in 10, despite having the same record. Okay, so every team, Warriors, Kings, Lakers, are 45 and 35. Sacramento has Phoenix tomorrow, Portland on Sunday. The Warriors have New Orleans tomorrow, Utah on Sunday. The Lakers have Memphis, and Memphis is on the road tomorrow for the Lakers, and at New Orleans on Sunday. Both the Warriors and the Kings, their final 2 games are all at home. For the Golden State Warriors to get to the 8th seed, so to jump the Sacramento Kings, the Golden State Warriors need essentially 3 combined wins by the Warriors and losses by the Kings. 3 combined Warrior wins and Sacramento losses. So what that looks like is either 2-0 for the Warriors over the final 2 and 1-1 by Sacramento, or 1-1 for the Warriors in the final 2 and 0-2 by Sacramento. The most likely scenario there is the Warriors go 2-0 and the Kings go 1-1. Because the Kings do have Portland on the schedule, and as we just saw tonight, the Trailblazers, not exactly an incredible basketball team at the moment. But for the Warriors to get to the 8, you need 3 combined Warrior wins and Kings losses. So 2-0 for the Warriors, 1-1 for Sacramento is the most likely path for the Warriors to get the 8 seed. However, the 9 seed is also possible for the Warriors. And the way that works, essentially for the Warriors to be the 9 seed, you need 2 combined Warrior wins and Laker losses. So the way that could work is Warriors go 2-0, and then it's wrapped up. Does not matter what the Lakers do because that is 2 Warrior wins. You need 2 combined Warrior wins and Lakers losses. You could go 2-0. Lakers, does not matter what happens. You're the 9. Or the Warriors go 1-1, the Lakers go 1-1, or the Warriors go 0-2 and the Lakers go 0-2. Again, you just need 2 combined Warrior wins and Lakers losses. That seems relatively likely at this point. Again, the Lakers have Memphis and New Orleans. The Warriors have New Orleans and Utah. The 10 is also still possible for the Warriors. Essentially there, in order for the Warriors to fall back to the 10 and be in the 9-10 play-in game on the road, the Warriors essentially would have to have 3 combined Warriors losses and Laker wins. The way you do that is if the Warriors go 1-1 and the Lakers go 2-0, or the Warriors go 0-2 and the Lakers go 1-1. 3 combined Warrior losses and Laker wins is how the Warriors would fall back to the 10th seed. That seems to me to be the least likely scenario at this point. I think being the 9 is most likely. Being the 8, I think might be the second most likely, and being the 10 is the third most likely, which is great news for the Golden State Warriors. Of course, it has to include the Warriors handling business tomorrow against New Orleans, and New Orleans just coming off of a really nice win against the Kings in Sacramento tonight. But the Warriors playing really good basketball right now, despite the fact that tonight was not pretty at all. The Warriors, I think, do have the inside track to finishing 2-0 at home, which means at worst you would be the 9. And if you get a little bit of help from the Phoenix Suns tomorrow against the Sacramento Kings in Sacramento, the Warriors could very well be the 8 seed, which would be a major, major success for the Golden State Warriors. 888-957-9570. The 707 chiming in on the Xfinity mobile text line says, hello, consider number 7 Golden State versus number 2 Minnesota and number 8 Lakers versus the number 1 Nuggets. What incredible first round matchups. Indeed, 707. The Western Conference playoffs are about to be incredibly fun, no matter how it plays out. Obviously, us Warrior fans are hoping that the Warriors are involved, and being the 7 seed would be a dream scenario considering the situation the Warriors found themselves in a couple of weeks ago. Warriors against T-Wolves or Warriors against Thunder, and then Lakers or whoever else comes out of the play-in against the Nuggets. Man, that would be a ton of fun. Someone also asks, 3-way tie with the Kings and Lakers. Why are the Warriors 8th? 3-way tie with the Kings and the Lakers. The Warriors would be 9th because, again, the Kings do have the tiebreaker over the Warriors and the Lakers. The 510 asks about that on the Xfinity mobile text line. The West is just absolutely loaded right now. With the win tonight, by the way, for the Warriors, they're now 45-35. With the Warriors win tonight, the Warriors now have more wins than they did all of last year. The Warriors had 44 wins last year. They went 44-38. The Warriors right now are 45-35. More wins than last year. And yet they're going to finish much worse seeding-wise. I guess potentially not much worse. There's a very possible chance they could ultimately be the 7 after the play-in. If they get up to the 8 and then win that 7-8 play-in game, then they would finish as the 7. They finished as the 6 last year and were out of the play-in entirely. But you didn't have to have this crazy sprint to the finish line in this way. You kind of did have a sprint to the finish line last year. And in fact, I saw this statistic on the NBC Sports Bay Area broadcast earlier tonight, and if you were watching, you might have seen this. The Warriors have found a way to go streaking at the end of regular seasons each of the last 4 years. Remember back 2020, 2021, that was when the Warriors were in the play-in for the first time. And this year is going to be the second time the Warriors were in the play-in. But back in 2020, 2021 was when the Warriors ultimately finished with the 8th seed, and they went to LA in the play-in, lost. That was the LeBron James hit the dagger 3 after he got poked in the eye. And if you remember his on-court interview post-game, he was saying that he was seeing 3 rims. So he just aimed for the middle one, and he hit it. That was the 2020-2021 season. Warriors lose in LA in the 7-8 play-in game, then return home and lose to the Grizzlies in the second play-in game. As a result, they missed the postseason. But to close that year, the Warriors went 8-1 in their last 9 games. The year they won the championship, the 2022 postseason year, the Warriors won their final 5 games. And remember, that was when Steph got hurt. They won 5 in a row to close the regular season without Stephen Curry. And then they still won 5 in a row without him. And then Steph returned for the postseason in that first round matchup against the Nuggets, and the Warriors went all the way to win the championship. Last year, in order to claim the 6 and to avoid the play-in, the Warriors went 8-2 in their final 10 games. And now this year, the Warriors have won 9 of their last 10. And you could be looking at an 11-1 record over their final 13 if they just take care of business at home. At home over the final 2. That would be an incredible finish. And the Warriors are making it a habit of finishing the regular season at their best. The 510 on the Xfinity mobile text line asks, what happens if it's a 4-way tie with Phoenix if they lose 2 in a row? So Phoenix right now, as we take a look at the standings, let me bring them up for you. Yeah, so Phoenix is 47-33. What the 510 is asking is, say Phoenix loses both, they finish 47-35. Kings, Warriors, Lakers all win their final 2. They would all be 47-35. I don't know. Let me check. I don't know off the top of my head who wins the tiebreaker between the Kings and the Suns. Let me look at this really quick here. Phoenix against the Sacramento Kings this year are 2-1. No, they're 2-2. Interesting there. Although there is still one more matchup coming. So whoever wins that matchup tomorrow is going to win that individual tiebreaker. And I think as a result, you know what? I'm going to take a break here in about 10 minutes. I will get you the official answer to that coming up in a little bit. I can guarantee you the Warriors do not win that tiebreaker. It's either going to be the Kings or the Suns that win that tiebreaker. The Warriors will not win it, but they will also not finish last. I think it would go some order of Phoenix, Sacramento, or Sacramento, then Phoenix, then Golden State, and then the Lakers. Because when you have 3 or more team tiebreakers, ultimately it's head-to-head matchups, all of them together who has the best record. The Kings have a better record in those head-to-head games than the Warriors do, and so do the Phoenix Suns. The Lakers, because they went 0-4 against the Kings, will have the worst record, and the Warriors also went 3-1 against the Lakers. So I'll get you the official answer to that. I will say that is relatively unlikely, but the Warriors will not win that tiebreaker. So the 7 is officially out of reach. I can guarantee you that. Even if the Suns, as the 7, finishes with the same record as the Warriors, the Suns will be the 7 over the Warriors because the Suns have the individual tiebreaker over the Golden State Warriors. The 7 is out of reach for the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors are locked into either 8, 9, or 10. But in terms of who wins that 4-team tiebreaker, it's either the Suns or the Kings. I don't have that exact answer for you. But for our purposes, I can tell you it's not the Warriors. The Warriors, though, would not finish last in that either. The Lakers would finish last. Essentially, the Lakers are going to finish last in any tiebreaker scenario because they're 0-4 against the Kings and 1-3 against the Warriors. So they're going to finish last, and they need help to get out of the 10. Anything beyond that, the Lakers will be the 10. Talk about a dangerous 10 seed. They will be the 10 because they're losing all of these individual tiebreakers, even if it is a 3-way or a 4-way tiebreaker. That includes the Phoenix Suns. But getting back to what I was talking about just a second ago and join the conversation here, I know our phones are having technical issues. 888-957-9570. You can shoot me a text on the Xfinity mobile text line. Also, you can visit our YouTube chat, youtube.com/957 the game, the chat powered by First NorCal Credit Union. The Warriors are finding a way to kind of under pressure when they have to at the ends of regular seasons put wins together. Again, 4 years ago. Or 3 years ago now, but the fourth season ago, 2020-2021, the Warriors won 8 of 9 to close the regular season. The championship year in 2022, they won 5 in a row to close the regular season. Last year, they went 8-2 in their final 10. Right now, they've won 9 of their last 10, and they have 2 more at home. It could be 11 out of 12 to close the regular season. I was talking about this earlier. I think it was with Steiny and Guru earlier today here at 95.7 the game. And I threw it out to Steiny and I said, there's so much conversation about how the NBA season is so long. And, we got to cut off 15 or 20 games because no one cares about the regular season games. Think if the regular season was 15 or 20 games shorter this year or last year or even however many years back you want to go. For the Golden State Warriors, especially last year and this year. The Warriors have had to fight so hard, and they've finally found their stride late in the season to put things together. Imagine if they had 20 fewer games to figure things out for. They might not even be in the postseason. It'd be the 10 at the very best. They might not even be a play-in team if you had 20 fewer games to go with. Now, maybe it changes the whole complexion of the season, and maybe they feel more pressure earlier, and whatever the case is, I don't know. But if you just lopped off the final 20 games of this regular season, my God, the Warriors would be dead in the water. They'd be dead in the water. So while maybe we can complain that the regular season is too long and all these teams don't care about games in December and even in January and whatever the case is, Draymond saying, I can't get up for a game until it's April or whatever the situation is, the Warriors might be the biggest beneficiary lately of these long regular seasons because they have taken forever, each of the last 2 years, to get any kind of consistency going until like the final 10 or 15 games of the regular seasons the last 2 years. And as a result, they've been able to turn that late regular season success into some postseason success. I know last year it ended in a frustrating way in the second round. But if the Warriors don't close last year on what was that, the 8-2 run to close the regular season, if they don't do that, they don't get the 6th seed. They're in the play-in. Maybe they don't make it out of the play-in. I mean, they might run into the Lakers in the play-in last year if they fall back into that situation. If they do that, they might lose to the Lakers. The Lakers went to the Western Conference Finals last year. So it's kind of funny. We kind of poke fun at the NBA regular season, but I think it has, in a weird way, benefited the Warriors the last 2 years because it's allowed them the time and the space, and it's given them the ability to be a little bit more patient and figure things out. And as a result, they're now have an opportunity to be the 8th seed, be in the 7-8 game in the play-in, and if everything goes well, they could be the 7th seed and perhaps avoid the Denver Nuggets in the first round. That is A win, a win, a win, a win, a win. You could not script up something better for the Warriors if you're talking about a team that is going to be in the play-in tournament, as the Warriors are locked into that. They'll either be the 8, the 9, or the 10. And being the 8, winning that 7-8 game, being the 7 seed and avoiding the reigning champion Denver Nuggets, that's the best possible outcome for the Warriors. All right, it's Warriors wrap-up here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you. 100-92. The Warriors win over the Blazers in Portland. The Warriors now 45-35. They have surpassed last year's win total. They finish with 25 road wins. How about that? The Golden State Warriors 25-16 away from home this year. They've got 2 more home games left. If they win both of those, they would finish 22-19 at home. They're 20-19 at home right now with 2 more games left. But tonight's win for the Warriors, I think, really highlighted by Kevon Looney's professionalism. 9 points, 4 of 6 from the field, 11 rebounds, 4 blocks, and 2 steals. And those 2 steals came in that 16-1 run in the fourth quarter that turned a 6-point deficit into a 9-point lead. Without Kevon Looney, specifically in the fourth quarter of this basketball game, the Warriors do not win. And instead of talking about how this team could eventually be the 7 seed and get the 2 seed in the first round of the West, this team would likely be looking at the 10 seed, trying to avoid being disappointed by the Lakers once again. Kevon Looney saved the Warriors' season with his performance in the fourth quarter tonight, and considering that he was the only Warrior to not play on Tuesday in LA, you got to commend Kevon Looney for what he did tonight and for what he's brought to this Warriors organization for a number of years now. This has been one of his most difficult seasons to date. If you take out the injury-plagued seasons early in his career, probably, if you were to get an honest answer out of him, the most difficult season he's had. How does he respond, though? By always being ready. Did not play on Tuesday. The only Warrior that did not play. How does he respond? In 21 minutes, he's a plus 19, by far a game high. He has 8 points, 9 points, 11 rebounds, 2 steals, and 4 blocks. Kevon Looney is a pro's pro. He was awesome, and he deserves every single piece of credit that Dub Nation is giving to him tonight. Kevon Looney was incredible. Without him, the Warriors do not win this game tonight. Kudos to Kevon Looney. He was instrumental in that 16-1 run. And while maybe he's not going to be a key in postseason series, if the Warriors get that far, who knows? It might be matchup based. If something goes wrong, and if Steve Kerr needs to, break glass in case of emergency, you know that Kevon Looney is going to be there for whatever he and this Warrior team needs, because that is what Kevon Looney has done throughout his entire career. And tonight was the perfect encapsulation of that. Kevon Looney is a true professional. All right, time for a break on Warriors Wrap-Up. It's Mark Randy with you. The Dubs knock off the Blazers. They survive. It was ugly. It was not pretty for the vast majority of this game, but they get the job done. They rest Clay. They rest Draymond, and they're now 45-35, and hope for the 8 seed is still alive. 100-92. Warriors over the Blazers in Portland. It's Warriors Wrap-Up. Mark Randy with you. More coming up next on 95.7 The Game.
Navien tankless water heaters, the proven leader in condensing technology. Request a Navien because you deserve the best in endless hot water delivery. Learn about Navien's condensing tankless water heater.
who soars and slams. 31-30, Golden State takes the lead. Kuminga with 11.
Just phenomenal.
Now back to Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Welcome back. Dubs knock off the Blazers. Final score 100-92. And with that, the Warriors' dreams of the 8th seed are still alive. 888-957-9570. We're having technical difficulties with our phone lines, but you can shoot me a text on the Xfinity mobile text line, 888-957-9570. You can also join the party on our YouTube chat, youtube.com/957 The Game, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. I am seeing some confusion both on the text line and on our YouTube chat. When I say that the Warriors cannot get the 7 seed, I mean by the end of the regular season. In terms of regular season finishes, after 82 games, the best the Warriors can do is the 8. However, in today's NBA, with the play-in tournament, if you are the 8 and you beat the 7 seed on their home floor in that play-in game, you will go into the postseason as the 7 seed. So the 7 seed is possible for the Warriors ultimately post-play-in, but pre-play-in, the best the Warriors can do is the 8 seed. Also, there is a lot of confusion that I see all over the place in terms of tie-breaking scenarios. There's a potential 3-way tie, which is relatively likely between the Kings, the Warriors, and the Lakers. The Kings would win that 3-way tiebreaker. The Warriors would finish second, and the Lakers would finish last. So if those 3 teams tie for 8, 9, and 10, the Kings would finish 8, the Warriors would finish 9, and the Lakers would finish 10. And now I do have a little bit more information on a 4-way tie, which includes the Phoenix Suns. The Suns right now have a 2-game advantage on the Kings, Warriors, and Lakers, all who have the same record. If the Suns were to lose their final 2 games, and the Warriors and the Warriors and the Kings and the Lakers were to win their final 2 games, all of those teams would have the same record. So who would win a 4-way tiebreaker? The way it goes in the NBA is who has the better winning percentage in head-to-head games, in games among the tied teams. So Warriors, Kings, Lakers, Suns. As it stands right now, and keep in mind there is still one more game left between the Kings and the Suns, as it stands right now, in games among all of these teams, Warriors, Kings, Lakers, Suns, the Kings have an 8-4 record, the Suns have a 7-6 record, the Warriors have a 6-6 record, and the Lakers have a 4-9 record. So as it stands right now, the Kings win it, and the Kings will win it no matter what happens in this game between the Kings and the Suns, although the only way in which we do get the 4-way tie scenario is if the Kings beat the Suns tomorrow. But regardless, the Suns would win that 4-way tie. Things could get fishy between Phoenix and the Warriors. If Phoenix loses tomorrow, they would be 7-7, 500 in games between these 4 tied teams. The Warriors are 500 at 6-6. So you'd have to go even further there, but the Warriors would not win the 4-way tiebreaker, and we know the Lakers would finish last. So 8 seed is still possible pre-play-in for the Warriors, but you can get up to the 7 by winning the first game of the play-in as the 8 seed. I hope that makes sense. 888-957-9570. All of this is still alive because the Warriors have knocked off the Blazers tonight. 100-92 is the final score. And the Pelicans go into Sacramento and they beat the Kings. So now the goal is relatively simple for the Warriors. It's actually pretty straightforward. All these permutations and all these possibilities likely are not going to happen. But if it does, it's fun to know how it all works. But really, for the Warriors, it's very simple. Very simple for the Warriors. The path to the 8th seed for the Golden State Warriors: beat New Orleans and Utah. Sacramento loses one of their final 2 games, and they have Phoenix tomorrow, Portland on Sunday. Much likelier they lose to Phoenix than Portland. Warriors go 2-0 in their final 2. Kings go 1-1 in their final 2. The Warriors will finish ahead of the Kings, and they will be the 8th seed. You could also go 1-1 if you're the Warriors. The Kings, though, would have to lose both of their games. You would be the 8th seed. It's that simple. for the Warriors. 2-0 for you, 1-1 for the Kings, 1-1 for you, 0-2 for the Kings. Very likely the Kings will not lose both. So for the Warriors, the likeliest path to the 8th seed to finishing ahead of the Kings is the Warriors beat New Orleans tomorrow, beat Utah on Sunday, and the Kings lose to Phoenix tomorrow, and then whatever happens against Portland on Sunday would not matter at that point if the Warriors win both of their games. So very simple if you're a Warrior fan. Rooting for the Warriors over the Pelicans tomorrow, rooting for the Suns over the Kings tomorrow. And those games will have a little bit of a staggered start. The Warriors tip off at about 7, probably more like 7:10 from Chase Center. Meanwhile, Phoenix and Sacramento tip off at 7:30. So the Warriors get a little bit of a head start on Phoenix and the Kings tomorrow, but it doesn't matter when that game starts. The Warriors will be big Suns fans tomorrow, because if that happens, if the Suns beat the Kings, and the Warriors win their final 2 games, the Warriors will be the 8th seed going in to the play-in tournament. 888-957-9570. What an effort from Kevon Looney tonight. Steph Curry got some shots to fall in the fourth quarter as well. He was relatively inefficient in this game, but he did score a team-high 22 points, made 5 of his 16 shots from downtown. Jonathan Kuminga was very efficient. He struggled early to take care of the ball, 4 turnovers, all in the first half. Finished, though, with 19 points, with 7 of 11 from the field, had 6 rebounds in this game, had a steal. Andrew Wiggins, I think, was really solid. Once again, 15 points for Wiggs, 5 rebounds. When the Warriors were really struggling, third quarter, early fourth, it was a couple of Wiggins buckets that kept the Warriors kind of within 5-6 points. So Wiggins, a number of really important buckets in this game. Moses Moody came in and had a nice 21 minutes. He scored 8 points, 2 of 3 from the field. Podziemski was his normal solid self. He was plus 13 in his nearly 33 minutes off the bench in this one. Warriors without Clay, without Draymond, and they got the job done. They withstood 25 points and 11 rebounds from DeAndre Ayton, 18 points from Scoot Henderson. He was really effective early in this game, did not do much in the second half, and the Warriors turned him into a bit of a volume scorer. Every time he shoots threes, the Warriors were happy about that. 2 of 8 from downtown for Scoot Henderson. The Warriors ultimately defended him well, but he did dish out 12 assists. He did have 9 turnovers, though. He was 1 turnover away from a triple-double. Scoot Henderson was. He had 18 points to go with 12 assists and those 9 turnovers. Jabari Walker had himself a nice game. 17 points and 16 rebounds. 7 of them were offensive rebounds, and that's what hurt the Warriors in this basketball game. It was their 16 turnovers that led to 19 Blazers points, and then it was the 20 Blazers offensive rebounds that led to 28 second chance points. As a result, the Blazers took 20 more field goal attempts than the Warriors tonight, despite the fact that they shot 11% worse from the field, 36% to 47%. The Blazers were right in this game because they had more possessions and more field goal attempts. The Warriors turned the ball over more than Portland did, and the Blazers got way more offensive rebounds than the Warriors did. Those two things combined means a hell of a lot more field goal attempts. Generally speaking, you shoot more field goal attempts, you're going to make more. That was not the case tonight, though. The Warriors, 36 for 77 from the field. The Blazers, 35 for 97. The Blazers took 20 more shots only to make 1 fewer shot than the Warriors. Credit to the Warriors defense, although maybe not the rebounding as much because those 20 offensive rebounds really hurt you. But credit to the Warriors defense for forcing Portland into bad shots. And the Warriors ultimately did just enough offensively in terms of taking care of the ball and hitting some big shots down the stretch to win this basketball game. All right, let's hear from Warriors head coach Steve Kerr here on Warriors Wrap-Up. It's Mark Randy with you after a big Warriors win. It was not pretty, but a win is a win is a win. 100-92 is the final score. The Warriors still have a chance to be the 8th seed pre-play-in at the end of the regular season. Here is Warriors head coach Steve Kerr postgame tonight addressing the W.
It's a tough night for us. We did not execute very well, but these are tricky games. We were obviously resting Clay and Draymond, who were banged up, and with the back-to-back, we're just hoping to take care of business tonight. And Portland, I give them a lot of credit. They played really hard, and they made things much more difficult on us, but we pulled through in the end.
Looney, just what kind of impact did you make tonight?
Yeah, I thought the two key guys were Loon and Brandon. Loon just saved us. He has done dozens of times in his career here. He's kind of been on the outside of the rotation now for the last 6 weeks or so, and he always stays ready. And he came in, changed the game. We were really getting bullied on the glass early in the game, and I thought he came in and established a tone inside. And then I thought Brandon's defense on Scoot and Henderson the last 5-6 minutes of the game was massive and helped us get that separation.
I know we talked a little about pregame, but another clutch effort by Steph tonight in the fourth. Just what kind of will did you see from him?
Yeah, I mean, Steph's done that a million times, so it never surprises you. Obviously wasn't his best shooting night, but made some big ones down the stretch and competed really well. And, we played him more than we wanted to, but, we got it done, and now we've got a chance to go, play New Orleans tomorrow and get a win and put ourselves in a pretty good spot.
Obviously, the game has a lot of stakes, but as you mentioned, Steph played 36 minutes. Any consideration of resting him tomorrow?
Steph?
Yeah.
No.
That's a good question at the very end there. Steph played 36 minutes tonight. Any consideration, Steve, resting him tomorrow? And a very quick no from Steve Kerr. I think ideally, of course, Steve would like to rest him, but tomorrow is a must-win basketball game if you're the Warriors. Now, what is kind of unfortunate for the Warriors is if the Warriors were locked between the 9 and the 10, say the 8 was out of reach, and it's not, it's certainly not, but you need help for that to happen. You don't control your own destiny there. You need the Kings to lose at least one of the next two in order for you to have a chance to be the 8. If you were just the 9 or the 10, the question would be, is getting a home game in the play-in, in that 9-10 game, is being the 9 worth pushing your old veteran roster in the final 2 games of the regular season to try to get the 9? Or are you comfortable enough as the 10 and going on the road? That would have been a question, and it still might ultimately be a question. Like, I can imagine a scenario where, say the Warriors win their final 2 games and they don't rest anybody, or at least not to any major extent. But they win both of the games because they were trying to win them. And say the Kings win both of their games and the Warriors are stuck as the 9. They don't get to the 8. And then, potentially, they're a little bit more gassed or winded, and they go into that 9-10 game against perhaps the Lakers, and what if they lose that game because they're a little bit exhausted? Like, I could see that scenario. Now, the other situation is, if you're the Lakers, do you see the writing on the wall? Because there's a possibility the Warriors win tomorrow, Warriors and Lakers win tomorrow. Let's say that happens. Because for the Lakers, in order to pass the Warriors, they need the Warriors to lose, and then they need to win out. There's a scenario where the Warriors and Lakers win tomorrow, and the two teams go into Sunday, and they play a little bit of a chicken match. Both games tip off at 12:30. Warriors at home against Utah, Lakers on the road in New Orleans. The Lakers might just say, all right, we see the writing on the wall. We see that the Warriors are going to beat Utah. We are just going to rest. We're not going to try to chase a win against the Pelicans because we figure the Warriors are going to beat Utah, and we're just going to gear up for the 9-10 game in San Francisco against the Warriors. The Warriors want to chase a win to make sure they get the game at home, and maybe as a result, you're a little bit more winded, fatigued, exhausted, and the Lakers, despite being on the road and despite being a veteran group themselves, if they kind of take that Sunday off, maybe they feel a little bit fresher than you going into that one. So while Steve Kerr saying no, Steph Curry is not resting tomorrow is 100% the right decision because you still have so much to play for in terms of getting to the 8, there is a chance that the Warriors push themselves hard. They push themselves hard to get to the 8 seed, and through no fault of their own, they don't get it because the Kings go 2-0 to close the regular season, and the Warriors are left as the 9 seed, but they're left kind of exhausted and tired as a result. That's a possibility. Now, it's the reality that the Warriors find themselves in because they tricked away so many games earlier in the season, but that is a possibility, and it's something that the Warriors are going to have to navigate. Now, there is a way that you can kind of middle it. You can try hard tomorrow, and they will. Steph Curry is not resting. I would be absolutely shocked if Draymond and Clay, one of them doesn't play. They both will play. It's like a 99% chance, I would imagine, that they both are going to play tomorrow. I would be absolutely shocked if they don't. You win that game, Lakers win, Kings win, and then you can kind of go into Sunday knowing that there's a very small chance that you could get up to the 8 seed because the Kings have Portland at that point. They're going to win, and you'd be locked out of the 8. Best you could do is the 9. And then the Warriors scoreboard watching the Lakers game in New Orleans when they tip off simultaneously. And as basing off of what's happening in New Orleans, you could pull Steph out of a game. You could pull Draymond out of a game. You could pull Clay out of a game, so on and so forth. If, say, the Pelicans get out to a big lead over the Lakers and you realize you don't need that win. So there is a way you can middle it and you can figure it out. But the Warriors, as a result of the number of losses they had earlier in the season, you might get to a point where you're fighting for something that is really, really important to you, but it's out of your control, and as a result, it might be a little bit of wasted effort. That's just the reality of the Warriors situation. Oddly enough, if the Warriors had lost tonight, it kind of gives them a little bit more freedom to take tomorrow off a little bit. Now, this is not a conversation not worth diving that far into because they won and they still have a ton to play for. But the consolation prize of losing tonight and essentially saying that you're not going to be the 8 seed is that you probably go into the play-in tournament in a little bit of a better position. But the potential reward that comes from being the 8 seed is far greater than the risk of potentially going into the play-in tournament a little bit more fatigued. That's all I would say. But there is a reality where maybe the Warriors don't feel physically at their best because they push themselves so hard here down the stretch. You're just, fingers crossed, if you're the Warriors and a Warrior fan, that you push yourself hard and you get the result you need from Phoenix against the Suns tomorrow. Because again, the math is relatively simple. For the Warriors to finish the regular season as the 8 seed, the Warriors need to go 2-0 and the Kings need to go 1-1. It's that simple for the Golden State Warriors. And the Warriors, they've got New Orleans at home tomorrow. They've got Utah at home on Sunday. The Kings, meanwhile, they have Phoenix at home tomorrow and Portland at home on Sunday. So the likeliest path for the Warriors to the 8 at the end of the regular season is Phoenix beats Sacramento tomorrow. Does not matter then what happens on Sunday for the Kings, assuming the Warriors beat both New Orleans and Utah at home to close the regular season. You need 3 combined Warriors wins and Kings losses in the final 4 games for the two teams combined. That's what it takes for the Warriors to be the 8th seed. And the 510 on the Xfinity mobile text line, 888-957-9570. The 510 hit the nail on the head. The Warriors have the chance to still be the 7th seed in the playoffs, just not the 7th seed at the end of the regular season. Correct. The Warriors, the highest they can climb at the end of the regular season is the 8th seed. But if they win the 7-8 game in the play-in as the 8th seed, they would then claim the 7th seed and would take on the 2 seed to begin the Western Conference playoffs. So, 7 seed is still technically possible for the Warriors, but you're only doing that by being the 8 going into the play-in tournament. All right, a little bit more post-game sound here. We're talking a little bit about Kevon Looney and how awesome he was. Here is Steph Curry talking about Kevon Looney in his fourth quarter tonight.
You know, Looney was unbelievable, securing the paint on defense, finishing at the rim, giving Ayton a little bit of problems down the stretch. He's going to get his shots up, but we just competed, and that last 6 minutes was hard-nosed basketball, and it was what it took to win.
Yeah, hard-nosed basketball, and that's what Kevon Looney has done a lot of in his career. Not as much this season, but tonight was a great display for Kevon Looney, and there's a reason why this Warrior team loves him so much. I mean, how many times has Steve Kerr come on this station, whether it's pre or post game, at the arenas, talking about Kevon Looney, and he's the team's moral compass, and everybody loves him, and he does everything right, and all of that. Kevon Looney is beloved in that Warriors locker room, and for him to have the game that he had tonight in a really important time, I think it says a lot about Kevon Looney. And it's maybe a little bit disheartening that they needed that kind of performance from him to win this game. It was really, really, really good to see. And again, the Warriors did not win this game without him. If you remember, we spent so much time talking about all the permutations about the playoffs and seedings and playing and all of this. It was by far from an easy win for the Warriors tonight. In fact, with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, the Warriors trailed by 6 points, 85-79. Portland led with 9 minutes left. The Warriors then went on a 16-1 run over 6 minutes of basketball. A 16-1 run. There was, a Steph three-pointer. There was a Looney offensive rebound tip-in, put back. There was a Looney pick-and-roll finish down low. There were 2 Looney steals that led to another Curry three-pointer. Then the other one led to a Brandon Pajemski and one. That was the finishing touches on that 16-1 run. Looney was in the center of everything, and that's, for the most part, just the offensive end. I mentioned the 2 steals that Looney had, but the Warriors as a team buckled down defensively in that fourth quarter as the Trailblazers scored just 1 point from the 9-minute mark to the 3-minute mark of the fourth quarter. 1 point. They did not make a single field goal over 6 minutes of basketball. Incredible performance by Kevon Looney and this Warriors team. I thought Jonathan Kuminga had himself a relatively rough first half, but he bounced back really well in the second half, finished with 19 points, 7 of 11 from the field. The Warriors got enough offense from him. If you were listening to Warriors Live, my take it to the bank prediction was Kuminga for 20 or more points. He finishes with 19. I was so close to that for Kuminga, but he got enough. And the Warriors get the win 100-92 over the Portland Trailblazers, and a huge win for the Golden State Warriors. All right, 888-957-9570. Mark Randy with you here on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. On the YouTube chat, youtube.com/957 The Game. Wise Guy says tomorrow is going to be a fun one. Yes, it is. And the game tips off at 7 o'clock. Tomorrow, I got your Warriors live and post-game coverage, Warriors live and Warriors wrap-up pre- and post-game tomorrow. Coverage will begin at 6 o'clock, and tomorrow I will be live at Ballast Point on 16th Street in San Francisco, about 3 blocks west of Chase Center. So if you are headed to the game or you are in the area, stop by Ballast Point tomorrow. I'll be on the air from 6 to 6:30, but I'll be there a bit before 6 as well. You can stop by, say what's up, grab a burger, grab a drink on your way to Chase Center. You can also watch the game there, a great place to watch a basketball game. Should be a ton of fun tomorrow. I will also be at Ballast Point on Sunday, 12:30 tip-off for the Warriors on Sunday. That means 11:30 is when Warriors Live will begin, and that will be at Ballast Point as well, 16th Street in San Francisco, about 3 blocks west of Chase Center. Should be a ton of fun both those days, so if you are in the area, you can stop by and say what's up. But tomorrow is the big one because the Pelicans have a ton to play for. The Jazz, who are in town on Sunday, do not have a lot to play for. In fact, they would probably rather lose. So tomorrow is the big one. If the Warriors beat the Pelicans tomorrow, there's a decent chance the Warriors could be the 8th seed. They would need some help from the Suns to beat the Kings, but tomorrow is the big one. Warriors, Pelicans, 7 o'clock tip, 6 o'clock coverage begins here on 95.7 The Game with Warriors Live ahead of the game tomorrow. All right, final few minutes here of Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. It's Mark Randy with you. We got to get to our hardest worker of the game, which is brought to you by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office, who works hard to serve the community. Are you looking for a career in law enforcement? Learn more about job opportunities at joinacso.com. For me, our hardest worker of the game tonight is, it's a very easy one. I'll put it that way. I spent a lot of time here on Warriors Wrap-Up talking about him, It's Kevon Looney. 9 points in 21 minutes off the bench, 11 rebounds, 4 blocks, and 2 steals. Both of those steals in rapid succession in the fourth quarter, and it led to 6 Warriors points. A Steph Curry 3 and a Pajemski 3-point play. The Warriors had 14 points off of turnovers tonight. The Warriors scored 14 points off of turnovers tonight. 6 of them came in like a span of 45 seconds in the fourth off of 2 Looney steals. He was awesome in this game. Great to see him play well after not playing on Tuesday. He was the only Warrior that did not play on Tuesday in that Warrior win over the Lakers in LA. Everybody else that was available and active got in, a number of them in garbage time, but he was the only that did not play a second in that game on Tuesday, and he is the Warriors' X factor in this game tonight. They certainly lose this game without him. He was awesome. A plus 19 in his 21 minutes. To be a plus 19 in a game in which you win by 8 points, that means in the Warriors' 21 minutes, in Looney's 21 minutes while he was on the floor, the Warriors outscored the Blazers by 19 points. That means in the other, 27 minutes of this basketball game, in the 27 minutes Looney was not on the floor, the Warriors got outscored by 11. It's a pretty big difference in favor of Kevon Looney and the Warriors when he was on the floor. So Looney, as a result, he's our hardest worker of the game. Once again, brought to you by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. All right, that'll just about do it for us here on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Apologies for our technical difficulties with the phone lines. They will be back up and ready tomorrow. So if you want to call in, the Morning Roast, Steiny and Goo, Willard and Nibs all day long. They're taking your calls all day tomorrow on 95.7 The Game. And I'll be back with you again, 6 o'clock, live from Ballast Point, 16th Street, just west of Chase Center. 6 o'clock, Warriors Live begins. Should be a ton of fun. Stop by, say what's up. Grab yourself a beer, grab yourself a burger, and then head on over to Chase Center after that, and we can catch up as well after the game on Warriors Wrap-Up tomorrow. Tip-off is at 7. Coverage begins at 6 on 95.7 The Game. All right, that'll do it for us tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in. For Chris O'Connell and Sterling Bennett behind the glass, my name is Mark Grandy, signing off. The Dubs winners, 192, and the dream of the 8th seed is still alive. We'll talk more about it tomorrow right here on 95.7 The Game.
You can start a career that allows you to work with purpose, pays great, has outstanding benefits, and offers a promising future. The Alameda County Probation Department is seeking dedicated